On question 28, we are going to sketch the graph of this rational function. So again, we start with the first derivative. Since it is a rational function, we have to use the quotient rule. So I'm just going to go straight to what my first derivative was at this point. And with that particular first derivative, since I am going to look for critical values, when I set it equal to 0, it does not equal 0. It is undefined at -1, but if you look back at the original function, that is a vertical asymptote. So we say in this case that there are no critical values for this function, and therefore it has no max or minimum. So then I go and I look at a second derivative, and so because I didn't want to do quotient rule again, I decided to rewrite the first derivative with the negative power. So anytime you have an expression in the bottom of a fraction, you can move it to the top, but it makes the power negative, and then that just makes it easier to derive. So in my second derivative, I got -4 times x plus 1 to the -3, and I went ahead and set it equal to 0. And so here, once again, there's no way that it ever equals 0 because of the -4 on top. And even though it's undefined at -1, I go back to the fact that on the original function, x equals -1 is a vertical asymptote. So you're not going to have an inflection point in that particular case. And so you may remember these types of graphs from a previous class, and you may not. That's okay. So at this point, again, you had to choose the correct graph. It's not shown on the actual page that I had printed off, so I drew it here at the bottom, showing you that there is this vertical asymptote when x is equal to -1. And then I just did some random test points on both sides to see where the piece of the graph would end up. So when I plugged x equal -2 into the original function, my y value was 3. So by knowing that that point is here, and knowing that a rational function follows those asymptotes, I knew that piece of the graph would be there. And then I used x equal to 2. As long as you choose something that's bigger than -1, it doesn't really matter. And I got a y value of 1/3. And so with that point there, that told me that this piece of the graph would have been right on that particular side or in that particular region.